Well, howdy folks, Kdog'S back here, taking a look at some Christmas movies of this year, of the year of 2022. And usually about every year I try to work in a adaptation of A Christmas Carol. And I actually one year did a kind of a full rundown of a selected adaptations of A Christmas Carol. I think last year I watched The Muppet Christmas Carol, which I always love. I think that one's a really good adaptation. It was produced by Disney, and at the time Disney had owned the Jim Henson Company, and so they had access to the Muppets. And then later, eventually, Disney would sell Jim Henson Company to Sony, but they maintained the Muppet Christmas Carol. And I did a whole rundown of different adaptations of A Christmas Carol and how it's been adapted to film. I did not get all of them. I thought I did at the time, but there's so many that get made that have been over the years, from live action to direct to video to live action to animated. Well, in 1988, Paramount Pictures and Richard Donner decided to make a modern day take of A Christmas Carol and make it as a comedy. And they got Bill Murray to star in the film. And by this time, Bill Murray had been on kind of a hiatus. He hadn't really done much post Ghostbusters, and so this was kind of Bill Murray's first venture back into movies after Ghostbusters. And so they thought it would be a good idea to do a modern day 1988 tale of A Christmas Carol with Bill Murray. The film I'm talking about is 1988's Scrooged. Yeah, starring Bill Murray, Karen Allen, John Forsythe, Bobcat Goldthwait, and who else is in here? David Johansen, Carol Kane, Robert Mitchum. Yeah, there were several people in this film. Alfre Woodard. Yeah, and so the film takes place at a major television network. And of course, this network is fictitious, but it's based on a combination of the big three at the time. The fictitious network is called IBC. And the president of the network is a man by the name of Frank Cross, played by Bill Murray. He is a selfish jerk, and he's very greedy. He He's very rude to his staff. It's Bill Murray, okay? So Bill Murray is a complete jerk, okay? This is basically, if the way I can describe it is, Bill Murray is the world's biggest butthead, okay? This is the film depiction of that. But anyhow, the film is about Frank Cross. He's the president of IBC, this television network. And at the end of the year, every Christmas Eve, this network airs a live telecast telling of A Christmas Carol, or actually Scrooge. They call it Scrooge. And that's another title that the Christmas Carol has been known to be called, is either Scrooge or Christmas Carol. And so they put on this production of A Christmas Carol live on television, and it airs on Christmas Eve. And so it's really not to gather the family together. It's to benefit the company and make gajillion amount of dollars. And so Frank Cross wants to promote it and do untactical ways of promotion. And so they show at the very beginning that he airs this commercial. He puts this commercial together for the program to make it look like it's some sort of scary movie, and and as a thriller, and it gets to a point where the family of this old lady wants to sue the network for airing it because their grandmother or something passes away or from a heart attack watching the commercial, watching the promo for A Christmas Carol. So it's, and he doesn't care. He just goes, I want to airing more. I want to air it every second commercial break, which you can't exactly do unless you have the money. But anyhow, and so because of his rudeness to the crew, he tends to want to take it out on everybody, of course. And you have like the people that are putting on the production of the Christmas Carol. He's cussing at them, he's screaming at them for interrupting him, and things like would you stop hammering? And at one point, he wants, like, for they have mice in the play, and like the special, I don't know if it's special effects guy, but anyway, this guy comes up and says, I can't get the antlers glued onto these mice, because they're going to supposedly use like a close up of these mice to pretend that they're reindeer or something like that, and he's trying to glue antlers onto these mice, like, and he's like, we tried crazy glue, we tried super glue, we tried all these things, we just can't get these antlers to stick. And Bill Murray, as Frank Cross, says, well, have you tried staples? So he wants to staple antlers to little mice's head. PETA, please. Yeah, so, but anyhow, because of this, and he's rude to his, we find out that he has a long-lost love, Claire Phillips, played by Karen Allen. She comes into play here because Frank has been visited by an old protege of his, Lou Hayward, played by John Forsythe. And basically, that is the Jacob Marley character. The Jacob Marley type character, because he comes as this old ghoul. He died on a golf course, so he has like a tailor made, hat and the golf sweater, but he's covered in complete dust, and he's just like an old ghoul, like an old monster or whatever. Like he's breaking apart as he's speaking to Frank, but he calls up Karen Allen, and he's screaming, he's panicking, like he's just seen basically he has just seen a ghost, technically, and but when she gets there, he's in the middle of the where they're rehearsing for the play, or for the production of Scrooge, and he's screaming at the crew, and lots going on, and she's trying to like see why does he want me here? There's obviously a reason, and he's kind of like blowing her off a little bit, because it's so bipolar. Like he's nice and like, hey, great to see, and he's screaming like, ah! He's screaming at the crew. And then you have Bobcat Goldthwait, who plays just an executive at the station or the network. In the first scene, Bill Murray fires him, and then throughout the rest of the movie, you just see that man being torn to shreds. Like it's funny what happens to him. It would not be funny if it happened to you. I mean, like he goes from this well, it's not high paid because he's Scrooge, so he's really robbing these people of money, basically. And so he just disintegrates down to nothing, to a complete nutcase by the end of the film. Matter of fact, when he comes at the end of the film, he's drunk, he's unshaven, he stinks, and he's carrying around a shotgun because he's going to blow Frank away. He said, "You want to fire me on Christmas?" Bam! And then we get into the some of the other characters here. We have David Johansen playing the Ghost of Christmas Past, taking him from his childhood, rough childhood that he had, and takes him to when he broke up, or when he met Claire, and when he broke up with her. Basically, that is following paint by numbers to A Christmas Carol, because that's what the Ghost of Christmas Past did. Went to his childhood, went to things that made him happy, where he met his love, and how he broke up with his love. And then you go into the Ghost of Christmas Present, which is played by Carol Kane, and she's kind of playing the Ghost of Christmas Present like a twisted version of the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. And every time she's around Bill Murray, she punches him or slaps him or hits him with something. Very, very slapstick moments of the film. And then, of course, then you have the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, and where he's incinerated. Which is basically this monster that's a cloaked monster. It has really no distinguishing features other than it's a terrifying ghost, and shows what his future is going to be like if he keeps pursuing the path that he's going on. That by next year or whatever, you are going to be dead, and you are not going to have much to atone for. But then you have some of the other characters here. We have Alfre Woodard, the actress Alfre Woodard. She plays a character by the name of Grace Cooley. Basically, she is the Cratchit, the Bob Cratchit character. They just made it a woman, and so she comes home to her family, and she has her son, basically a Tiny Tim-like character. His name is Calvin, played by Nicholas Phillips. And basically, he doesn't walk with a crutch. He's not crippled or anything like that. His his handicap basically is that he cannot speak, and she's taking him to therapists and things like that. It's like, what is going on? Why isn't this child speaking? Why isn't he talking? But because he has feelings, he has emotions. He's a child, but for some strange reason he is not talking, and he's very quiet, and he does speak. Spoiler alert: the child does speak, and of course it's the famous line of A Christmas Carol, which is "God bless us, everyone." And yeah, so. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, they did a modern take of A Christmas Carol. They even did some things that were I would say original for the time, but it's quite obvious that this was a comedy. It goes a little over the top. I mean, especially when you get to the scene with Carol Kane with the whole fairy like costume, and she's hitting Bill Murray with she's punching him, she's hitting him with objects, and well, even David Johansen as the Ghost of Christmas Past. Even he's very comedic, and his tone, like he drives a checkered cab and smokes this old cigar, and he has this really rough voice, like, hey, which floor, and when he puffs on the cigar, smoke comes out of his ears, and it's really over the top. But the thing of it was, it wasn't. I don't know how well it did at the box office back in the day. I do know this: it was a very troubled production. There was Bill Murray did not enjoy himself. Neither did director Richard Donner. Richard Donner and Bill Murray were constantly fighting. Like every single take, they were fighting. But here's the thing: how good of it is a movie? I think if you did not know that it was a troubled production, it works. It does work. It does accomplish the job. But I think it was. It was really a Bill Murray vehicle, and he is the star of the film, but it was tailor made for him. Not necessarily a Christmas Carol, but the way that they wrote it was for him, because I just saw an interview with between Joe Rogan and Quentin Tarantino, and he was talking about his favorite decades of movies. Quentin Tarantino, in his opinion, he thinks that the worst decades are the 50s and the 80s. And Joe Rogan was like, okay, how explain that to me? He goes, let me go even further. He goes, here's the difference. What I think about it, it's like why he thought the 60s and the 70s were the best times. He said, compare that to Chevy Chase movies and Bill Murray movies. Both men made comedies. Matter of fact, they were both in the 80s. But he said basically Chevy Chase movies, Chevy Chase had something to learn at the end of the film. And, you know, Chevy Chase was kind of a, he kind of changed himself, or had a different look on life by the end of the movie whenever he went through whatever he went through. Bill Murray, on the other hand, goes through the same thing, but however, he's still the same butthead at the end of the movie. He's just, I don't know. He said he's still the same butthead. That's what I'm going to say. He said something else, but he's the same butthead by the end of the movie. And pretty much with Scrooged, you see that. I think with Frank Cross, yeah, he wasn't, he realized, okay, yeah, I've been a jerk, but I'm not gonna, I'm a jerk. Yeah, I'm gonna give you more salary. I'm gonna give people what they deserve. But you know what? I'm not gonna change my attitude. I'm still gonna be a butthead. I'm still gonna do the same things what I want to do. And he also, he improvised quite a bit in this movie, even though, like I said, I think it was written with him in mind, but also Bill Murray kind of knew where to improvise for himself. And it is a Bill Murray vehicle. Now, my opinion of it, I think it's very much a film of the 80s. I think A Christmas Carol is a timeless story, and I think you can adapt that story in any decade. I think it pretty much has been adapted in every single decade, and it still holds up. But this adaptation, it really dates badly. It's very much an 80s movie, because of the style that it was performed in and executed in, some of the special effects. Obviously, it's all optical effects. There is no digital effects whatsoever. It's all optical effects. Now, I'm not saying that is necessarily a terrible thing, because there's been some great optical special effects. But I'm talking like things like, there's that, but there's also some of the things that, like, for example, there's a part in here with his brother that where he is connecting with his brother. Now, it's in the original story of A Christmas Carol, it's between Ebenezer Scrooge and his nephew Fred. And yeah, his nephew Fred, and how the nephew keeps inviting the uncle to come to Christmas dinner on Christmas Day, and Uncle Scrooge tells him to shove off. You know, but in this film, it's Big Brother, Little Brother, and they actually get Bill Murray's younger brother to play the younger brother. And also Bill's older brother, Brian Doyle Murray, is in the film playing the father. So, what is his brother's name? Let's see if it's... I've got the whole IMDb brought up here. Well, I see Brian Doyle Murray, but anyhow, they actually got Bill Murray's younger brother to play the younger brother in this film. And but it's very much. But what he gives him is very much, or one of the things that he has give to him is a VCR. Now go around and ask the kids of today what a VCR is. You know, I know what a VCR is, but a lot of other kids don't. So, yeah, if I was to stick this up in their nose, what is this thing? Matter of fact, I think there's a YouTube video where they show kids react to what a VCR is, and they hand them a videotape, and they say, "Well, you need something to play that back on. What do you?" And then they finally put a VCR and a TV in front of them, and it goes, "Just push it in," and they're going. Because that is so weird, and you know it's funny to see that, but it happens. But yeah, it's some of the stuff. This adaptation dates really badly. It wasn't. I just watched the Siskel and Ebert review of it, just right after I watched it, and they were split. Siskel liked it; he thought that Bill Murray was having a good time, but Roger Ebert knew better. Roger Ebert hated it. Matter of fact, he even interviewed Bill Murray and Richard Donner on the film, and that's when it was revealed that, hey, this was a troubled movie. That, hey, the director and the lead star did not get along, and it was parts where they wanted to quit and get fired. But yeah, it was a trouble movie. I do say check it out, just for fun. I mean, it is funny. It does have some very humorous parts. Like I said, the ghosts themselves are very comedic, and Bobcat Goldthwait, that character alone is hilarious. I mean, especially when he shows up at the end of the film with a shotgun. He's ready to blow Frank away, and and how he basically says, "Wait a minute, I'll fix this," and he convinces him that he's rehired and blah blah. Yeah, and he's threatening with a shotgun, but it's typical, and it's Bobcat Goldthwait. You know, his typical comedic styling, you know, because he's like, you know, it's a turn-off, hey, sir, and at the end, you know, I'm gonna blow you away, you know, like that type of thing that he was known for doing in terms of his comedy. But if you hear the guy talk natural when he's not doing his comedy, he's just a common guy. But yeah, Scrooged from 1988. Do check it out and develop what your own opinion is. I think it doesn't hold up very well. I think it's like I said, I think it's funny, but I don't think it holds up particularly well. Especially, it's definitely a product of the 80s, especially with some of the gifs and some of the gags. But that I digress. And so from me to you, see you later.